welcome to the Boards of Podcast. Today is a special day because we get to review chapter 33. Insert in editing, insert round of applause, like clapping sound effect. I'm just kidding. What's up, Oud, Blonde Hanada, Isagai, what? Just popped in real quick. Special thanks to Watch Boruto and Boruto fan for being here as well. Sweet. What's up, Blonde Hanada? All right. So chapter 33. So if you guys pull it up, it's called Shattering Futures. Wow. And this chapter cover has Sarada on it, taking her glasses off. She looks amazing here. The colors, pink and blue. It looks like, a
I wonder if that is anything right there. The colors. You know what I mean?
Thing. I think it's just what looks
good. Could be Sakura and Sasuke, I guess.
Pink and blue. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe kid versions like part 1. Because she went red. More reddish. Whenever she took over the Uchiha press. So.
Yeah,
probably
true.
Earlier. Same with Sasuke.
Very cool chapter cover here. Drippy as usual. Ikimoto.
I'm wondering what that's supposed to be. Like the actual, because pink and blue, that's the colors. But then look at it. What does that even look like? Like the splatter. You know what I mean?
It's like a paint effect.
Because the title is Shattering Futures, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm thinking glass. Glass. I mean, I don't believe it'll break like this, or at least that's not how people would portray it to be, breaking in the silhouette. But maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was also thinking this looks like the sand when they were in the sand fighting Ryu and them. Right? It looks like the pink is the sand landscape and then the blue is the sky. But I don't know. It just reminded me of that because look at her. She took her glasses off and then the Sharingan are activated. Mangekyo activated too.
No, yeah. No. Yeah.
So I just thought back to whenever she did that against Ryu.
You're on point. Yeah, you get
blew him up. And that could be what the inverted parts of the background are, right? Where the pink is on the blue and the blue is on the pink area. That could be her explosion of her ability, Mangekyo.
Yeah. At the end of it, yeah. That's sweet. All right, let's go on to page 2 here. So page 2, we got the like sound effects around, like I'm assuming maybe that's like a wind sound effect. I don't know. They got the symbols here. It's crazy. We got how many Mamushis are we up to now? Thousands.
1,000, I think.
1,000, not 100,000. There's a ton of Mamushis here, and they're surrounding was it Team 7? And that's actually pretty crazy to see. It's them right there. Mitsuki, Konohamaru, Sarada, and Boruto. And at the bottom left, this panel has Sarada. She looks like she's, passed out, and her eye is just gushing blood. What a scene. I can't wait for this to be animated. So next page.
Animated.
What's up?
I said I can't wait for everything to get animated.
Oh, yeah. It'll be insane. I mean, we were just looking at the last episode and how the art was, and I'm expecting them to go even harder with Two Blue Vortex. All right, so next page, page 3. So now we see Kawaki. He says, damn it. Himawari runs up to Kawaki and says, big bro. Kawaki says, relax. I simply ran out of gas. Save all your worry for
See,
Sarda
that's-
instead.
That part right there, this boy said he ran out of gas. That shit was so funny because people were bitching and moaning, complaining, talking about some, oh my God, they nerfed Kawaki. Buddy, he had this shit since forever. Since
He
we
always
first seen him,
passes
his
up.
first fight
He
against
always,
Garo.
yeah.
He used his karma too much. He used too much power and then overheated. But people were really complaining, talking about some they nerfed him. How did they nerf him? By making him again overheat when he did it before in part 1. And this is not to blame for the new so-called upgrades because he did it before when he was limited or more limited, you know.
Yeah. But Himawari runs up, says, big bro. So she's like shocked. She's like, okay. And now we see Sumire at the bottom. She says, Boruto, what is Sarda's condition? And next page, page 4, Boruto is looking at Sarda and holding her face. And he says, she's breathing. I don't think she's in serious danger, but I'm worried about the Mangekyo's damage to her vision. And her
Notice
eyes
how he said that.
gushing.
Notice how he said that. He said he's worried about the Mangekyo's damage to her vision. Not about the Mangekyo, her vision, her Sarada,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Because we've been told, right, by Kashin Koji, obviously, but we've been told that supposedly the Mangekyo Sharingan of Sarada's will be of great use for them in the future. Whatever that means. Future as in future, or future as in right now, but a little bit later. You know what I mean? Like, is it the near future or actually far future that they're talking about? And what battles to come, right? It's just, they say things to make you question everything now, right? But clearly, the Mangekyo had no use in this fight or in this battle. It had the first use when she used it against a couple of Mamushi clones, right? When Kashin Koji turned off told Inojin to turn off the mind transmission jutsu where they could communicate so they don't know that she already had used it before. But yeah, so other than that, and that wasn't great use either. Even if, they used it, that's what they were talking about. No, that was not great use. Okay. But so it's not this one. And if it's not this one, then what is it? And why are you not telling us? You know what I mean? Obviously, so that we can't guess everything in the future, right? A couple chapters down or however far, whenever she uses it again. But yeah, we're supposedly told the Mangekyo is an asset. They literally had Yodo die because of it. Just to awaken, or not even awaken because she already had it in part 1, but just for her to actually want to use it now, right? That's why they were like, stop holding back. It was the Android 19 or 17? 19, the big one. Android 19, where you don't have to hold back anymore, Gohan. And then he beats Cell. But it was the same thing with Yodo. You know, she was like, you don't got to hold back for the person that you love. And then, but either way, though, the Mangekyo is supposedly an asset. I don't believe it to be. Sarada is the asset. So him saying Mangekyo damage to her vision, he sees it. He sees what I see. You know? She is more important than whatever the fuck they got going on. So, and this goes back to episode 8. You know, episode 8 of the anime. Episode 8 of the anime, this the Toneri dream sequence where he communicates to Boruto in his dream, and we learn about the Jogan for the first time. He says that your eye, the Jogan, will probably guide you to the light that will dispel darkness. Not that you will do it. You're not going to be the hero. You're the main character, but you're not going to save the world. At least not in the way you think, right? If that's the prophecy that holds true. Because there is other prophecies. He's supposed to die. He's supposed to this. Nah, he's going to do his own thing. But if it holds true and Sarada is the light that will dispel the darkness, his eye will guide him to that light. Look at how he's around Sarada. Exactly. But that just reminded me of how Boruto really do prioritize whatever the fuck he thinks is the actual best over what anybody else says. Because if he believes it to be the best, it definitely is the best. If anybody else believes it to be the best, it's not the best, you know?
True. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to page 5. Okay. Starting at the top. Boruto says, I've healed, or no, Himawari, my bad. She says, I've healed the damage to the blood vessels and stopped the bleeding. But I don't know if that'll help at all with her vision. And then we see Sarada and her eyes stopped bleeding.
Well, it looked like the blood got dried up already.
Yeah,
you know?
that too. Yeah, the blood like disappeared
or whatever. But you know what that reminds me of? Urashiki, when they made him use his ability when they forced him, you know, because they figured it out. Or they didn't figure it out. It was a hypothesis that they got right, and then they figured it out. But they forced him to have to use his ability because they realized, oh shit, time passes different for him and me, him and the people he was fighting. So we could use that to our advantage. And they put everybody, right? They changed the environment. They changed the fighting area to the stomach of a toad, right? Jiraiya just summoned it, whatever. And it had acid in it. So when they were forcing him to use his ability, it was so that the poison can take more effect, you know? And then one way that we saw that actually be shown visually was blood that used to be on Urashiki dried up. So it just reminded me of like, damn, they they put another drying blood scene or a drying blood thing. You know, this is clearly different. No way Himawari can control time when she heals people. But it just reminded me of that, you know?
Yeah. So Sumire, they're showing us that Sumire is watching. Ada is watching. She says Osara. And Mamushis are all laughing and going crazy and jumping around and, you know, being crazy. And the next page 6, Damon says, such an irritating noise, you damn bugs. So this was the plan the whole time for him to eat a bug.
Well, not the whole time, but yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? He said such an irritating noise. Are they about to have like bug noises, like mosquito and flies and other gnats, or maybe locusts? Because he kind of looked like a locust.
There's so many of them,
but
there's so many of them. It's like they're like buzzing around.
Exactly.
And you just hear the commotion. You know,
I want that. Like that's a small detail, but I want that because it'd just be funny if all their laughs then sounded like bug noises, like a swarm of locusts. You know, locusts, right? The 17-year thing. If it was one of those, that'd be so funny. Because play on the name, you know, bug. Now they just got to play onto the name for the like computer science version or the you know, that version of bug. What bug means in computer science, they need to play into that more, which I think they will. but because they
He's gonna
have been
become
with the bug literal, animal sense.
They need to do something with like a virus or something.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
Like they need to do more computer science stuff.
well, yeah. I mean, I always see the Juby or the Ten-Tails as a virus that infects planets. So, and this is exactly what that is. So Damon's screaming. He says, "Just come at me all at once, will you? Let's get this over with." He's screaming, and the Mamushis are going nuts. You know what I mean? Like they're going nuts. They got spit flying from their mouths. They're going nuts. And if you actually look on this page, if you look at that panel where Damon's standing off with them, if you zoom in and look at the Mamushis, the bugs, you literally can see like dots around them in the sky, like
Yeah,
almost
they're
as if they
forming.
have bugs around them. They look like bugs. Like
Oh, okay.
what?
No, I thought you meant like they're the ones that are flying in the air right now. And
No, yeah,
they're just
for
making
sure,
more.
for sure. But it looks like just bugs. It's like
Yeah, what do they call it? Green aura with flies.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So these guys are nuts. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So page 7, Enojin, he's doing his new jutsu. He says, "It's no use. At this rate, we'll be wiped out." And he turns to Koji and says, "Hey, how much more do you know? What happens next?" Koji, with one eye, looks at him. He said, 4 days ago, that's the last time pre-science showed me any possible futures. He said, and it was based on that intel that I imparted mind transmission formation to you. I haven't had any updates since then.
See, here he go again with this answering a question without answering the question. He told you how much more do you know? So what's gonna happen in the future? Not, hey, when did you last get an update?
Exactly.
But since you want to say that, Kashin Koji, let's go into it. Let's have these conversations. You're useless, buddy. You are useless. Because if you're not going to tell me the future, and remember, he's doing this because he what? Well, if you know the future, you can't act like you don't know no more, right? You can't act that way. You can't this and that. Or even worse, the excuse of paradoxes. And yes, it is an excuse.
Yeah, but remember, he was saying that once he tells someone else,
I know it changes the future, but I'm saying
then they become singularities.
Yeah, no, I'm saying though, that is all for me, I think, bullshit. Because you did it with Boruto, right? When you taught him, or didn't even teach him, but you showed him the future how he would have learned flying Raijin, right?
Mm.
And he was like, "Oh, don't worry, it's no paradoxes, right? Because you would have learned this anyways." So, same thing with Enojin, right? He would have learned this at some point. We know when Himori got offed in the other timeline and he goes for revenge, right? Which that would have been cool. All the revenge stories I always like. I don't know why. 'Cause John Wick, literally revenge over a dog. No, it wasn't a dog, right? So either way though, he learns it at some point, right? So he's like, "Oh well, no paradoxes." Same thing applies with Boruto and Enojin. Yeah. Okay, so what about when Boruto told you what would have happened, or what is going to happen next, or whatever? Same thing. Doesn't answer. So, and what he said in place of that answer is probably worse. 4 days ago, you last got an update from Prescience. We already knew when you got Prescience to the real world, it looked like you're just sitting there meditating, right? When you're viewing all these futures, or at least not meditating, but and we still don't know if that is time wise, right? The same amount of time or instantaneous, but in between. You know what I mean? So when he gets a vision, let's say the vision is 5 minutes long. He sees the future for 5 minutes. Has 5 minutes passed from when he first got it in real life? Like when he first got the vision, did 5 minutes pass and then he comes back to the present or the current timeline? As in, like he's in the now, and then he's like, oh shit, 5 minutes passed. Or is it he gets the vision? It could be however long, right? It could be a day, years, a couple minutes, and then he comes right back to the moment he got the vision. You know what I mean? Like it'd be barely. It reminds me of this, and I don't know if it's a real news story, like if it's verified, but there was a news story of this girl who got in a coma or something where she was out of it, and then she ended up living like an entire decade worth of life in a dream, and then when she came back out of it, it was barely a couple months. You know what I mean? So it's like, how does the time work for his jutsu? We know, okay, you can't control it because you're obviously not a Nosuke and you're definitely not Shibai. You just got to sell. Same with Ada. Not Shibai, not a Nosuke, can't control it. But is it instantaneous? Is it like you come back to the point where you were hearing it? Or does the same amount of time go over? Because if the same amount of time goes over, you're even more useless than I thought. You better it better be, right, Koji, I mean, that you can come back at the exact same point or right after you start the vision. Because if you're sitting duck, you're literally a sitting duck. If you're a sitting duck in your vision, you're worthless. Let me see the future, and then you're literally seeing a kill cam of yourself because somebody will come get you while you're in the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, your answer, which is not an answer, is worse than just answering the question. How much do you know? You don't even got to tell them what happens. Just how much more do you know? Just say, I know 4 days in the future. That's it. But no, because ulterior motives, it has to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Let's go to page 8. So Koji, I mean, obviously Koji knows the future. He's just saying some other weird stuff. But all right. Just says updates. And Koji says pre-science's pre-recognitions come to me at random times. Sadly, I can't peek at the future whenever I want. That's just how it works. And what's been happening since I told you about your new jutsu is different from every scenario I had seen up until that point. So is he saying, he's saying, once he gets people to become singularities of fate, or fills them in on the future, or like they change, whatever happens, they end up changing or something. Everything he knows up until that point is all gone.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why I tell you he's worthless.
And then,
if you know the future, but then you do Kashin Koji because you gave him the jutsu, right? Or you told him you would have, yada yada. But and I'm assuming that up till that point is the moment he tells him, like, which we saw in the other chapter. But if you're just gonna not tell people, right? Because, it'll change the future. You can't even help anybody. Because what? You changed the future. Literally, you told him the jutsu. Now, as you said, every scenario is different now from whatever he saw last updates. So you're useless. Just go be one of us. Read and don't interact with the story characters in their universe. Be a reader from the outside, looking. Be a watcher. You know what I mean? Like the watchers in Marvel. They can watch. They know everything that's about to happen. And they might know more depending on which one. But they don't interact because it'll change things. Be one of those. Do not interact because you're useless if you interact. and then you just cause more problems when you don't interact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. So Amado says, it's another panel here, Amado, or I guess he's tuning in they're listening. They're tuning in listening. For some unknown reason, Mamushi attacked days earlier than expected. The greatest misfortune being that it ended up coinciding with Kobu's visit. Next
Also,
page.
on the Kobu visit part, obviously that's Koji saying it, but why would it be the greatest
Yeah.
misfortune?
Because
no, because think about it, right? The last thing he saw, which we saw, is Himawari and Ada in a tree. That doesn't happen right now, right? So how is this worse than that? The greatest misfortune is that it ended up coinciding with Kobu's, because assuming that his future is the one that, you know, we saw, which is, you know, Ada put in a tree and he comes back a week after, not Mamushi comes to the village a week after, not a couple days like he did this one. So it's worse that he comes in later. And I have to believe it's because of Kobu's visit. What is Kobu here to do? Because they're emphasizing, oh, this point in time is real critical. Well, Kobu's visit is here to determine what? Who is for the village and not for the village, but for the daimyo and not. And he's what? Investigating what's going on with the Boruto thing. How did Boruto get out? We know how. We saw it. So, does that mean Kobu, if nothing changed, right? Kobu confirms that it was Shikamaru and Mitsuki and whoever else was involved. And then he actually does take him out of office, take him out of power. And then because of that timeline of Ada and Himawari, you know, and Himawari don't get put in a tree, but Ada does. She just dies, probably fighting, right? Because who came up with the plan right now? It was Shikamaru. To fight Mamushi right now, it was Shikamaru. So if Kobu visit and Mamushi come in don't coincide, it's worse. So again, why is this worse? It's something he's not telling us. That's what I'm thinking. If Kobu visits, he figures out Shikadai.
Yeah, but none of that even matters anymore. You know, because the features he doesn't know it anymore. So it's like
exactly
everything changed.
So,
but that also lets us know that things aren't definite. That things can change just a bit.
Definitely not.
Okay, so
if it was indefinite, he wouldn't have been trying to change anything. You know what I mean? That's what the whole him fighting Ishiki thing was. Just as your genes, you were predetermined to die here, and guess what? He didn't.
Yeah. All right. So next page 9. Amado's there. He's thinking to himself, smoking a cigarette. This is pre-science, precognition. Such a thing possible? He's like questioning it, really. And as he's tuning into their conversation there, Inojin says, so we're grasping in the dark. I totally thought that you knew way more about what's going to be happening. So he says, I believe I told you that to know the future leads to the act of destroying it. That is a very crazy twist there. Okay.
It wasn't even a twist, really. That's a main. That's like a common thing with timey-wimey stuff, you know, in anything. It's literally the what do they call that? It's a paradox. And it's funny that he thinks, oh, a paradox, and yet he's still changing shit. Like, okay, if you're that worried about paradox, stop doing things. So clearly it's not. He just doesn't want other people to change things because guess what? He thinks he knows all just because of that future sight shit. You don't know all, buddy. If you knew all, you would be omnipotent. You would be Shibai, not you. But no, him saying that the doing something to stop the future causes the future, that's a common trope, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so next page, Damon's back to fighting the Mamushis, destroying them one by one. going nuts very fast. A whole swarm of them swarm around Ada. She says the stench, and Boruto swoops in and slashes all of them. She's like, gross, ew. And then we see Shikadai there saying it's a literal mountain of corpses, crazy. He says, but the Mamushi are still multiplying faster. Damon's stamina can't be infinite. He's going to go down eventually. Damon's still going off, popping one by one, like super fast. We're on to page 14 here. Damon started running out of stamina. He's huffing and puffing, and he says, this is bad. I'm starting to get short of breath. Mitsuki, out of nowhere, Sage Mode. If we go on to page 15, we see Boruto is there, and well, we see Sage Mode Mitsuki with the snakes, but Boruto says, or Mitsuki says, damn it, there's no end to them. Boruto says, Lord Eighth, I'd like your honest assessment. Shikadai says, or they say, what do we do? And everyone's looking, Kawaki, Konohamaru, everyone's here. And I don't know who says it. I think Boruto says it, or he says originally.
No, that's Koji.
Oh, it's Koji at the very bottom. All right, next page, Koji. He says originally you would have come up with mind transmission formation after Konoha had suffered massive casualties at Mamushi's hands. Since we are battling Mamushi with you having already mastered the jutsu, it is no surprise that subsequent events are different from any scenario I had previously seen. And I just want to say this. Could this also mean that the very first episode or chapter, the very first scene,
It doesn't happen no more.
It doesn't even happen. It was just a vision of pre-science or
I mean,
precognition. It was a precognition.
All right, so I think it's a balance, right? It's a scale.
Something.
You're trying to weigh things, right? The two options are you show it and it's payoff because you're like, finally, we know what's going on there. Or you don't show it. But if you don't show it, you better have something that outweighs that crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because remember, for a lot of people, that is their first thing of Boruto ever. Seeing the future. So, you know what I mean? Which I believe either one is okay with me. I actually want them to not do it because it means that they have to do something better and bigger than that. You know what I mean? But if they do it, okay, whatever. I know Boruto's going to win. So, and if he loses, no, he doesn't. So yeah, but look at how he's talking.
Yeah.
He's talking about all casualties.
So he says, yeah, right. But that's what, when he said that, that reminded me of that first scene. I'm like, well, okay, then. All right. Anyways, Koji says, doesn't Mamushi feel weak to you? And Ada and Himawari are still alive. All in all, I interpret such to be entirely thanks to you having your new jutsu. Inojin says, even so, what about here on out? Things look bad from every angle. I see no chance of us winning. Well, I mean, that's common sense. Yeah, Inojin. I mean, they're trying to act like the Koji's gonna save them from problems. It makes no sense. Page 17, Inojin here saying, new jutsu, big whooping deal. What use is mind transmission formation under these? And then he pauses. He says, new jutsu. After, he's looking at Koji. Koji still has a straight face. And now we have Amino, I guess, thinking again.
It's a flashback. Inojin is flashback into what he said about it.
Oh, that's right. All right, here we have a flashback here. He says, there are several possible explanations. It may be that they can share visual or auditory information with each other. Or while each Mamushi can think independently, there might exist a single collective consciousness governing the entire swarm. Yeah, I remember that. So this clicked in Enojin's head, gave him an idea about possibly a different jutsu, right? Page 18. I mean, this looks like flashback, does it not? With the black backgrounds. Koji says the future has changed drastically for sure, but pre-science's biggest forte is intel. And Koji says here, though the path we took here differed, I have viewed a future whose details share similarities with our current situation. And precisely because Mamushi's intellect has plummeted to rock bottom, there are measures we can take. And he says, measures that it now appears, page 19, I have no need to relay to you based on your expression. So Koji said, all right, then you already know what to do.
See?
And
I told you, this boy is useless. He is useless like shit because now he's going to actually take credit for this. You take no credit for this, buddy.
Yeah.
You know?
So Enojin says, I have to do it. I just steel myself to do what's needed. Koji says, there are quite a few futures where you reach the same conclusion. So use it to shatter those damn futures.
And there go the title card. That's the Shattering Futures.
Yes.
But see, I told you. This boy is so he says, which is the funny part. He says, oh well, we're now in a future where Himawari and Ada are still alive. That's good, isn't it? Yeah, but not because of you, buddy. If it was for you, you would have probably let them die, knowing you. Oh, you're gonna try to be like, oh, well, I saved their lives. Yeah, but you still killed Yodo. And yes, you killed him. I mean, her.
So sad.
Not the person who actually killed her, Ryu, right? Shinki's Shinju clone. You killed her. Because, as Boruto told you, was there any way we could have got this with nobody dying? And you said, well, if you went, fuck does that mean? Answer a question with a different answer that doesn't apply. You know what I mean? He want to answer some bullshit. So, no, he's gonna try to take credit for this. I hope this doesn't work on people because I know it will. But he's gonna try to take credit. Well, I saved Himawari and Ada's life. Yeah, and you killed Yodo, so you get no points. 2 for 1 don't matter. 1 is too many. Too many casualties. For who? Boruto. Boruto is the main character. That's why he says, I'm not going for it. That's why he even said probably the biggest casualty that should be gone, or the biggest person that should be gone, is Kawaki. And he outright denounced anything that will have that happen. You know what I mean? He said, I ain't doing nothing that ends up with me having to kill Kawaki. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Koji... Oh my God. I need him to die already.
Let's see, page 20. Let's see, big explosion with all the Mamushis here. They all start flying back. And we see Damon is on top of Ada, and Ada shoots away. She's flying away. Next page, Damon says, that was too many corpses. We almost got crushed under them. Let's put some distance between us. And the Mamushis are flying after them. And they say, it's no use. They're Ada's saying, it's no use. They're faster than me. I'll strike them down, so keep flying. That's what Damon says. Boruto's slashing some of them. Next page, Boruto says, I got your backs. Just keep moving. Ada says, Boruto. Damon says, thanks.
You know what's funny about that? They just showed us who's the speed, tiering right there. So Ada is slower than Mamushi, and Mamushi is slower than Boruto. Because Boruto is nowhere to be seen in this area,
100%. 100%.
He's with what's her name? Delta and Miski, right, fighting some of them. And then when we see him again, he's bang right behind them. Whether it's a teleport or his flight speed, like he just flew over, don't matter. He's still faster, So I just like that. I wonder now, where does Delta and Kawaki place? Because remember when Delta and Kawaki were flying towards the fight, Boruto just split between them and flew past. So he's obviously the fastest there. But how does that compare to Ada and Mamushi? Where does Delta and Kawaki land? I'm assuming closer to Mamushi than Ada. But then again, she was kind of moving slow. And so were them. They literally looked like they were standing still the way they shot that frame, but the way they composed that frame with Boruto splitting and going right between Delta and Aoki. So how much faster is he? And how much slower are they?
Yeah. All right. So Shikamaru says, think, damn it, think. There's got to be something. And the frog starts displaying, Inojin does the jutsu to display with the frog, what's going on. And Shikamaru says, my transmission formation, hey, Inojin. And Sumire says, the transmission cut out. What? Oh, so he stopped it. They're all watching that from the frog view. And then we see a frog on the battlefield, says hop. Page 23. Frog right there. Reverse summoning jutsu. Basically, is what Koji's doing right here. With the frog. And he says, I wish you luck. Inojin says thanks. Next page, reverse summoning from Koji. Inojin pops up on the battlefield. Now you say Koji's useless, but that was kind of useful.
No, because if he wasn't there, where would Inojin be? Oh yeah, at the village. So no, it don't matter what he does. Everything he does, he'll try to act like, oh, I was of use. No, you weren't. You just made it harder for everybody to do what they were doing. Oh well, he did it. No, I'm telling you, because remember the future where he isn't around to see or help, right? With him giving or teaching Inojin how to do that new jutsu.
So they need to get rid of Koji because he keeps changing the futures.
Well, no, he keeps changing shit that he doesn't let other people in on, for like the moral weighing of, what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to do this, and just know if I do this, it'll do that, You don't even got to tell him exactly what happens. Just tell him this is for the greater good and some bullshit like that, But he doesn't. He doesn't. You remember, he started off doing that, saying this is for the greater good. This is, and he doesn't say that. He says this is to avoid the worst future. So the opposite, right? If one thing is greater good, he's saying worst future, Or the baddest, worst, or whatever the fuck greater good antonyms are. But either way, he said that first. Then he stopped at some point, right? This is when Boruto was like really opposing him because of what he did with Yoda, right? So at some point, and it might be earlier than that too, because he could feel that Boruto wasn't going for it. You know what I mean? Especially when he told him outright, I'm not doing nothing with Kawaki. That's done. We're not doing that. So yeah, if he's trying to say he's helpful, right, which we don't know yet, but he definitely will, because if you're not of use, what are you? And mind you, he thinks ninjas and shinobi are tools, right? This is the thing he's all on. So if a tool has no use, exactly. So either way, though, he's going to try to take credit for this, for saying, well, look, though, I did it, right? No, because the only thing you're doing is changing the future that happens, right? Because if the future that he isn't there happens, what happens? It's they fight Mamushi. Mamushi wins. He gets a couple of casualties. That's Ada and not Damon. Ada and Himawari, especially Himawari in the case of Inojin, right? Then Inojin gets revenge and learns the jutsu and then gets revenge, whatever, right? That's, again, to him, because he's the one that said it in this chapter, somehow not a greater misfortune than the one right now. Remember, he said this is a greater misfortune because it coincided with Kobu. But the other one where people died and one got put in a tree isn't a more of a misfortune. And that's still the same scenario where Inojin uses this jutsu that he learns. He just learned it from Koji in this one instead of the one where he learns it by himself afterwards, after the fact, right? It's the reactionary versus the precautionary. He's a precautionary one, and the precautionary one will always assume that whatever they did to take precautions is the reason why whatever happens is less than, or not less than, but as a result of his precautions. You know what I mean? It's the whole doomsday bunker scenario. They prepare a doomsday bunker with all the amenities, right? For the day that the doomsday comes, that, I guess nuclear fallout would happen. And then when nuclear fallout happens, they're like, see, I was right to do all this, to get all these precautions of food, water, bunker, the regular thing in an apocalypse that you have to get. But guess what? You could have been doing other stuff to prevent that. How? Don't have war, Fuck, dog is barking. You hear that?
Yeah. Let's continue on. Let's continue with the dogs.
I think they heard me too much.
Yeah.
But no, but see what I'm getting at though, right? Like, he's precautionary. He thinks he's doing all these measures to be better off in the future. But then when the future comes, you still might not be better off. Because as he's saying, we're in a greater misfortune right now,
Yeah. Okay, let's continue. So Himawari is shocked to see Inojin. She says, Inojin. Inojin says, sorry in advance. Take care of me after. She's like, huh? Inojin says, Shigenai, capture Mamushi for me. Just one is enough. He does it. Shadow paralysis jutsu. Bang. He catches Mamushi. And Inojin does mind transfer jutsu. Bang. Page 27. And it's a snap. And it'll probably be like the owl sound, right? And then page 28, let's see, Inojin falls to the ground. And obviously he's in control of the Mamushi. And the next page we see Mamushi's flying. Then they stop. And Damon says, what the? And then they all start going, they all just like stop and start going in one area, kind of, right? Chocho says, what's up with them? Shigerai says, it's Inojin's mind transfer jutsu, except he only possessed one of them, and yet they all suddenly stopped moving. Kawaki said, what the heck's going on? Oh my. Amino says, he says, just as I thought.
And it's just as I thought too. So this right here reminds me of with Inojin taking over Mamushi, not just one Mamushi, all Mamushi, right? This reminds me of the anime. This is another reason, just a plethora, right? Infinite possibilities, an infinite amount of reasons why the anime is better than the manga. Because this has already happened in the manga before. I mean, in the anime before. Not the same way, but this same scenario of he needs to take over somebody who they don't know if they can take over has happened. It's episode 87. Episode 87 is called The Sensation of Living. This is Mitsuki arc, or really Onoki arc, or whatever, disappearance arc, whatever you want to call it, right? When Mitsuki runs away, goes with these people that are fabrications. There's 4 of them too. The main one is the main one. Either Jura, Shinju, right? Foreshadow. I'm telling you, but everything that's ever happened in the anime is gonna happen in the manga. You just don't know, or you haven't got it yet. But he fights, right, because they have to go fight, and they're just trying to get to Mitsuki, but the other fabrications are like, y'all not getting past us. What are you talking about? So they have to fight one of them. They fight the one bull with the like Nightwing baton thingies, he's dual wielding them. I forget what they're called though. I'm pretty sure they're just batons, but either it might be something in Japanese different. He fights Team Inoshika Cho. Same thing. They're like, oh my God, this shit is crazy. How are we gonna win? And then Inojin's like, oh, I know. Bing, does the little mind transfer jutsu. He even has some about take care of that after, because once he takes over the body of somebody else, his body goes limp and he can't act. And it's like a big ass weakness, right? That's why whenever he did it on Kobu from somewhere other than where he was, like Kobu, same area, it was like, oh my God, this is the biggest innovation to the jutsu. You don't even have to be in the area. You could just hit a frog that the frog like hits him with, you know what I mean? The frog doesn't do it, but they use the frog as a conduit. It passes through and then it hits the guy that is somewhere else in the world. So he's like, a drone operating, basically. He's using an attack, but he's not actually there. Even if you get rid of the drone, it's gone. Same with the frog. If you get rid of the frog, it doesn't do anything to the pilot, or in this case, Inojin. So they have this scenario of they got to get him. They got to hit him with the mind transfer. And the earlier parts of that, same with this, maybe there's a collective consciousness behind the swarm, was the same type of dialogue that they were having with that guy. I forget his name because he's not Kokuyu. Kokuyu is the one that Boruto fought. But one of the fabrications, the one that they were fighting, that he was talking about having a heart, right? Like, how is there proof of him having a heart? Because he doesn't literally have a heart, right? That's what they were going and doing everything that they were doing. It was to kill people and take their hearts and then transplant it and make it so that they're real people. You know what I mean? But the heart is not where the heart is. What do they call that? What do they say that quote? Home is where the heart is, or anything about consciousness, how consciousness is more than just brain signals and heartbeats. That's why people in like vegetative states and comas, even when they show no sign of whatchamacallit, of activity, they still say Kokuyu. Was he Kokuyu? I think Kokuyu was the one that they fought with Boruto. But either way, whenever they say that, right, whenever they show, no brain signal, no heartbeat, no nothing, they still can't classify him as gone. What do they have to say? Brain dead. They have to say brain dead or whatever other workaround other than actually dead. Because there's been the opposite, right? They didn't have any, and then at some point they come back. Whether it's to full capacity, it doesn't matter. But they come back. So it proves that there's more to the body. It's the whole soul thing, right? Is there a soul? With the fabrication that they fought, when he took over, it was proof he had a heart. What they say about Tony Stark? It's proof he had a heart. So now, with this, Mamushi, they got to figure out, okay, is there a collective consciousness? Is there an actual consciousness, a soul that controls all of them? Not just physically there. You know what I mean? That's why the clones are all him. That's why they were talking about it in that way. They weren't saying that he clones himself and that's it. They're all him. You know? So
Yeah.
that's another reason why the anime is better, because we've seen this already in the anime. You know? They did it again. They foreshadowed something years in advance. And only just now will people realize, oh my God, how did we not catch this? No. How did you not catch this? I caught this. You know what I mean? So yeah, A+ on that right there. I always like seeing it.
All right, let's continue. Let's finish this up. We got 10 pages left. We got page 31. So Amino says, I suspect what Enogen has taken over isn't a single unit. Serena says, the collective consciousness governing the entire swarm. Amino says, so it does exist. Single unifying hive mind that directs all the Mamushi. And that is what Enogen possessed. In short, right now, every Mamushi is under Enogen's control.
Which already proves he's better than his mother. He's better than his grandfather. He is the best Yamanaka ever. And it's
true.
not even close.
No, true. It's true.
You know?
Yeah. So, the next page 33. There's a flashback to Koji saying, you must destroy both eyes. The ones who've lost their eyes won't be able to divide further. And he screams, Damon, to Damon through Mamushi. He says, I'm gonna destroy your eyes. And Damon looks and bang, instantly Damon hit the eyes of the Mamushi. And right exactly at that second, Enogen's eyes gushing blood.
Yep. So that's patching a workaround that never happened, or that never was there. Because it's another thing that I was hearing people complaining about earlier. I don't know why. Again, these complaints are just from not even quick thinking, but just half-baked thinking, you know? They were talking about when Damon was fighting Mamushi a couple chapters, right? They're like, why can't, if he was really like that, if he was really, he could just boom you the second you think of hurting him, right? Why isn't he doing it to Mamushi? Buddy, remember, he's not going after Damon. If he went after Damon, he would go after Damon and he would lose immediately, literally, right? That's why Damon even had to tell us. I think that's why they put that in there. In the whatever chapter it was, I think it was last chapter before this one, 32, where he was like, man, why can't they just come at me? You know, because they're not coming at him. That's why he can't do what he's doing, or what they say he can do, which is instantaneous and like, if not complete reversal, enhanced. You know what I mean? Because if it was just, whoever's trying to hurt him, then he reflects it on them, Enogen wouldn't have got hurt. It would have just been Mamushi's eyes, no Enogen. But because it is that much more than that, and it is better than how people think it is and downplay it to be, it can even get the person who actually said it, not the person whose voice said it, you know, who actually was thinking that, the thought process. So it sucks to see Enogen lost his eyes. But hey, you know.
Yeah.
We was talking about Daredevil a couple of chapters ago, or a couple of reviews ago.
So page 36, Himawari screaming, Enogen, his eyes are bleeding. So these are two different characters. We got Asara and Enogen's eyes both bleeding in this chapter. Mamushi, we see all the Mamushi's eyes going out. Bing, 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 bing. Damon's getting them real easy now. And Choji says, seriously? And Shigara says, what the heck's happening?
And Wood said, hold on. This is actually like clarification. He said he thinks it's the property of the mind transfer jutsu, not Damon's. No, I know it's the property of his of Inojin's jutsu, but this is for the ones who think Damon's ability isn't what it is because of how ridiculous supposedly it sounds. No, it's really like that.
Yeah.
It will get any and all that hurts him, because any and all are two different things and instantaneous. No workaround.
We see Himawari having the chakra around her, and she's healing Inojin's head. She's holding him, and it looks like the bleeding stops. And the blood goes away, dries up.
Yeah, she's
and then
healing.
we see all the Mamushis dying off, turning into dust.
Oh my
we
god!
see-
Imagine the ones that were like just flying in the air fall on you. like whenever they have a swarm of birds just drop dead all of a sudden, and they bang bang bang, they're hitting everywhere. You're like, what the hell? It's raining birds.
Yeah.
It's raining bugs.
Yeah. So they're crumbling into pieces, literally. And we see page 39. First of all, wait, before we hit that page, I just want to say, do we think Inojin's going to lose his vision?
I mean, he said, I'm going to destroy your eyes. Whatever he thinks destroy the eyes mean, that's what just happened to him. And I'm assuming it has to be complete, eradication of the eyeball.
I think so too. I think he's gonna go blind, which would be insane. Imagine.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you know what they say about losing a sense? Your other senses are better, and he's the one that has a sixth sense. Where he can like look at mind. What do they call that again? It's some other sensory ability name of the jutsu, but the one where he can like sense chakra and other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we got Delta saying, we got him, all of them. We actually did it. Boruto puts his sword away, and right in front of him spawns a soul thorn bulb. And page 40, Kawaki says, that's a thorn bulb. And it goes into his Boruto's hands, and Boruto lands on the ground. And Kawaki says, hey, Boruto, what do you plan to do with that thing? And the very last page here, Boruto says, it'd be a shame to let it rot away, wouldn't it? Kawaki says, rot. And then we see the tree with Bug in it.
You know what I was just thinking about?
Huh.
Right. Why did it spawn in front of Boruto? Because it wasn't, again, all of them are him. There is no original anymore, unless there is. And then
I don't know why. I was thinking
Boruto was next to the original, right? If that is the case. But if not, okay, so why? Because it wasn't like majority of them were around Boruto. Majority of them were on the floor facing Damon. Boruto had just cleaned up, actually, sliced them up. Like what, maybe 5 max, 6 max? I'd have to look back and check exactly. But the majority isn't around them, so it's not like they pull towards the center of where all the majority would be. And then the only thing I could think of is maybe it's something unknown, like it's next to another Shinju or next to another Osusuki, because that again, it's Tentails.
Yeah,
it's literally an Osusuki pet. They have those things like pets,
Yeah. So we do see Bug here with the tree, and it is in that one area. Obviously,
the
Code,
other dimension.
But that's Code hangs around there though. But we do see the back of the tree, and they're very slick of the editors to put this in. We see a big claw mark on the back of the tree, and we see an eye, and it's Code watching. And we haven't seen Code for a while, and that was so smart of them because this brought a lot of hype for not just this chapter, but the upcoming chapter, chapter 34. A lot of people were excited to hear that Code was coming back. And I feel like that's something they can just use Code for now. Like they use him for a little bit, he goes away, and then he comes back out of nowhere.
Oh, and how could I forget? So last chapter 32, it was oh my God, how are we gonna get out of this situation? And I was guessing, I was predicting, I was like, well shit. End of a volume, start of a new volume. It's about that time. And then I was like, Boroshiki is coming. Right? Momoshiki taking over Boruto. It did not happen, clearly. The threat was wiped out by someone less than Inojin. But either way, that shit, it was probably better. Again, whatever you predict is not going to happen. And that was only because that's the majority, sentiment that people had. Were like, oh my God, Boroshiki. So I was like, I mean, it could happen. Boruto was just talking about how he's going to give up his body to defeat Jura. And you might not even get to that part if you don't stop this threat right now in front of you. So he's going to have to call on that favor earlier. But no, which makes sense. Boruto, even though he had some trouble with just one whenever he first got snuck, whenever he first got snuck at in chapter, 4, when they first popped up and they ganged up on him and he still got away. Now he's prepared. And not just that, but now he has help, So he doesn't have to rely on them, which is the main thing that they've been saying forever. Since the beginning of the anime, they've been saying that Boruto accepts help, because then he doesn't have to do it alone. Sarada said it one time directly to him. I forget which exact episode. Or the episode where they were doing the bell test. The bell test where they have to take it off Kakashi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one, it was, 36? I think it was episode 36. Either 36 or 37. Probably 37. Because I feel like it would break up before then. Episode 37 or 36. When it looks like they're about to just lose because half of the people that were in the bell test was different for Boruto. Right? For Boruto, it was the entire class is fighting to get that bell. And they don't tell them specifically only one can win because there's a trick to it, right? All tests have tricks, especially with Kakashi. But they were just like, just get the bell and y'all pass. So it looks like, right, they're about to just lose. They're up against an unsurmountable threat, which is not just Kakashi, because he also has other people there, other teachers or proctors, whatever you want to call them, to stop them from doing that, right? It was Konohamaru, Mirai, Anko, and I think Shino maybe? I don't remember. But those three for sure. And they were fighting all the other classmates. Boruto was like, well, shit, I don't got to do all these other side quests. I just got to go straight for the big answer, right? Straight for the multiple paragraph answer or whatever. Yeah, Shino fights Mitsuki. I knew it because they were rematching for episode 6 where they ganged up on Shino and then they beat Shino, even though it was Shino took over by somebody. But yeah, they're about to give up because, oh my God, they got defeated. Half of their forces are already captured, right? So then Boruto was like, damn, Ma. Damn, y'all, this is all my fault. I'm sorry. I thought I could yada yada. And he's, downplaying what he's done for everybody and how he's going about it. He's faltering on how or whether or not his way is the right way, right? Because again, he wasn't trying to work with nobody. He went straight for Kakashi and it didn't work, right? So they regrouped. And then who had to come and talk him out of that? Iwabe. Iwabe literally picked his boy, curled up his collar lifting him up, talking about some don't talk that way, and it's like whatever. And then he was like, because of you, I actually have a chance to graduate and not be a repeater. You changed me. And then they go down the aisle, not literally, but they go down the aisle of the people around, and they're like, yeah, you changed me, Boruto, right? And then he's like, oh, you're right. And then they're like, let's come up with a plan, and then teamwork. So, but the main part of that speech with Iwabe was he has to accept help. You have to actually get what you got to do. You have to have help, and you cannot deny help. That's why that's the main thing, actually, that differs Kawaki and Boruto. Boruto accepts help. Kawaki, clearly, as we know, does not.
And remember, they try to compare him to Shinky when Shinky was literally asking for help to
Exactly.
he made that sword.
Exactly. Shinky was asking for help. He gave them help, and but no, either way though, that's episode 37 or 36. It was one of those two, because I forget where it splits at. I'm pretty sure it splits at right when they capture everybody and they're like, damn, bum bum bum, and then boom, next, but probably 37. So yeah, the Boruto accepting help is for the better, and Boruto getting this help from unlikely sources, right? Because Inogen wasn't even in the battlefield; he was somewhere away because of Koji, bitch ass.
All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. This is the end of the chapter review, and stay tuned because we have some anime reviews going on with Watch Boruto and Boruto Fan here. So make sure you look out for that. Check out our website, boruto.club, and we'll catch you in the next one.